Anybody disagrees with that. 7 million means that they're not just going after criminals.
Well, they're going after people who are in the country illegally, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the criminals, this is a much bigger universe than
Doesn't that make you a criminal?
No, it doesn't.
To come across the border illegally?
Coming into the country illegally is a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense.
Okay, if you come into the country illegally, here's the message. We're going to find you and send you back. I mean, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. And I think the government should pull all the levers at its disposal to find people and pull this off. It's what the American people asked Donald Trump to do. Yes, they should be deporting violent people. Yes, they should be deporting people who committed violent acts before they came here. But at some juncture, if you're going to allow any illegal immigration at all, the message then goes out. Just get here. It'll probably work out for you. That was the last administration. This is a different one.
Family, why do we keep having this conversation, right? I feel like things just keep recirculating. And this is that Trump derangement syndrome that we talk about, because when has it ever not been a bipartisan understanding from both parties, Democrat and Republican, of national security for the best interest of Americans and citizens that are legal migrants, right? For the safety of America, the land of the free, the land of opportunity, right? And shout out to our servicemen and women, in the Army, in National Guardsmen, et cetera, et cetera. Appreciate your service, right? So let's talk about this so-called affordability crisis, right? Because that's what they were talking about, while also constantly mentioning, national security. But Abby Phillips really wanted to talk about the affordability crisis, because that's the very known, or I should say, the hot topic of the Democratic Party now lately, that all of a sudden the media want to bring up now. So, like, boy, ain't it crazy how we didn't hear nothing about affordability when rent was skyrocketing and gas was $5 a gallon under Biden, right? Like, when inflation was damn near 9%, they was like, it's transitory. Don't worry. This is just post-COVID adjustments. But now that Trump is back in the combo, all of a sudden now we got an affordability crisis. Everything is going to doom. Man, get out of here with that. Real question for y'all watching right now. And make sure you like up the video. Like up the video. Like up the video. Like up the video. Push this out to everybody as much as possible. I want to add value into you guys' lives. But to everyone's watching, the real question is, why do you think the media only talks about affordability when it fits their narrative? Why wasn't it a national emergency when you were struggling in 2022? But now there's headlines and panels every night. And here's the wildest part. They don't even want to talk about where the affordability crisis is hitting people the worst. Spoiler alert, it's in the blue states. Yep. The same states that have been run by Democrats for decades. Don't you find that mighty funny? Right? The ones that love talking about equity and opportunity and all of that. Meanwhile, you can't even earn a studio apartment. You can't even afford a studio apartment unless you're making six figures. Ain't that wild? And if you live in one of those states, let me ask you straight up, do you feel like your quality of life is worth the price you're paying? Like, is it actually worth it? Or are you just surviving to flex an area code? Let me know down in the comments below. Now they try to clown Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, right? Y'all remember him? Oh, well, if you don't, I'll give you guys a refresher. Check it out.
Way to bring your inflation rate down, move from a blue state to a red state. Blue state inflation is 0.5% higher, and that is because they don't deregulate, they keep prices up, energy is higher.
Inflation isn't hitting every state the same way, and the gap is only growing. New White House data reveals a clear divide, with prices lower in red states than blue ones. The White House report highlights key categories, including housing and food, with the widest disparities in energy and transit. In focus, Tennessee Congressman David Kustoff, who serves on the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Great to have you. What is your assessment of this report in terms of the difference between red and blue in terms of inflation and cost of living?
Well, a number of things. First of all, thankfully, under President Trump's leadership, we have, in Washington, unleashed American energy through energy policy that we've enacted in the House of Representatives and Congress, executive orders that the president has issued. But to your point, Mike, it truly does matter who governs. I'm in Tennessee. I'm in a red state. We were driving this morning. We saw gas as low as $2.14 per gallon, $2.20, $2.30. And you know that in the blue states with energy, it is substantially higher in states that are governed by Democrat governors and with Democrat legislatures, in part because of the regulations that they layer on top of their energy producers and their refiners and certainly their consumers. So I'm proud of the leadership that we have in Tennessee, both the Republican governor, Republican state legislature, and again, President Trump's leadership and the leadership that we've exhibited in Washington to work to reduce these tremendously high energy prices that we saw during the Biden years.
I'm struck by the map we're showing right now on screen, national average gas prices by state, and you can see quite a disparity there in terms of different prices for different folks. So to your point, Congressman, the great state of Tennessee with more conservative policies you feel like is really having a huge impact at the pump, correct?
We do, and we invite everybody to come to Tennessee because in Tennessee, not only are we governed with a strong conservative legislature and a good conservative governor, no income tax, that helps with inflation.
Sure.
No inheritance tax, no estate tax. So it's a great place to live, to raise a family, to operate a business.
All right, family. So you guys see in the beginning, this is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, right? The former hedge fund guy, right? And we all know that the Treasury Secretary is the top government official in charge of the nation's money. Things like taxes, federal spending, debt, financial policy, and the economy. Right. In his background, he is the former hedge fund guy because before he worked in government and he ran or managed a hedge fund, which is basically a big private investment fund run by wealthy investors or institutions that try to make big profits using complex and sometimes risky strategies. So basically, in simple words, he used to make money managing investments for rich people. And now he's in charge of the country's finances, right? But he is the boss turned economic truth teller of all of this for saying inflation is way worse in blue states than red states. You guys heard him in the beginning say, if you want affordability and you're in blue states, go to a red state. And the media laughed him off like he was making stuff up. But guess what? The numbers are coming in, and bro was 100% right. You want a more affordable life? Move to a red state. Period. People out here struggling to breathe financially in places like California and New York, while folks in Texas and Florida out here with big houses, backyards, and cheaper groceries. That's not opinion, okay? That's math. And the crazy part is, why do we ignore that? If people are moving to red states and finding life easier, shouldn't that say something? Shouldn't we be asking, why are the most progressive states the most unaffordable? And let's not forget the CNN panel, oh Lord, with Abby Phillip, right? Trying to play referee, but really just doing mental gymnastics to cover for the Democrats. Now, don't take my word for it. Before I go more into it, I want you guys to check it out.
Republicans should jump into the pool full cannonball on affordability.
Yeah.
You know why? Because, University of California, Berkeley, not exactly known for its conservative-leaning professors. They had a study out this year that talked about affordability in red states versus blue states. The first thing Americans should actually ask themselves when they're struggling with affordability is, who is in charge of my state? Is it Democrats or Republicans? On housing and utilities, the two biggest drivers of affordability, University of California, Berkeley says red states are 50% less high cost of living.
Why would that be, Joe? Could it be because blue states have large population centers where
it's per capita?
No. But could it be because in blue states, some of the largest cities in America where cost of living is higher? I don't care where you are in the world.
I'm glad you asked because the study answered.
I'm asking you, yeah.
I'm glad you asked. It's driven by nonsensical climate policies. It's driven by the inability of free market to build housing. The inability of free market to develop housing in areas where they can't. It's property taxes, which are about a third of housing
Obviously,
costs.
housing is a supply and demand situation.
It's the largest contributor to cost of living.
But there is way more demand in blue states than there is in red states. And look,
so
I'm not.
You're saying there's more demand in blue states
I guess what I'm
where
saying
people
is,
are actually leaving, and less demand in red states like Tennessee, Florida, where people are moving to?
It's actually not. I'm not disputing what the study says. What I'm saying is that I'm not sure you can make that a political statement. I'm just saying that there are some structural differences between a red state like Alabama and a blue state like New York.
I'm not
and one of the biggest structural differences is that Birmingham and New York City are not the same kind of city. New York City is not just expensive because of climate policy. It is expensive because millions of people live here. That's why.
The cost of producing
it's also housing.
I'm not saying this. I didn't make it political. University of California, Berkeley made it political. They actually compared Republican-governed states versus Democratic-governed states.
I'm just saying, listen, Democrats probably need to address how they address the housing supply issue, right? Regulation does play a role. However, even with all of those things, your urban centers all around the globe are more expensive than less urban centers. So just from a basic...
Red states have urban centers. Miami, Houston, Dallas.
Okay.
I mean, you can go through the list. There's a lot of urban centers in red states.
Yeah, I understand that.
Those
but the
are
biggest
lower
ones
cost
are where?
of living. Those are lower cost of living. In this country, obviously, is Chicago, New York, and LA.
All right.
But number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are actually all in blue
American
states.
public...
You guys here. All right. Let's move on. Oh, really? Let's move on. Like, sis got hit with a whole University of Berkeley study, which we'll get to in a minute on their website. And this ain't no right-wing think tank either. This is Berkeley, right? Showing that blue states are way more expensive to live in because of the policies those Democrat leaders passed. And instead of actually dealing with the facts, she hit us with the classic, let's move on button, right? Like, when you're getting whooped, right, in a game, let's say in 2K or Call of Duty, right, and the score getting disrespectful, so you just unplug the console, or you might just turn the game off and put that joint in sleep mode, right? And yeah, that's what she did. Soon as the facts didn't match the liberal narrative, boom, conversation over. We all know that these radical liberal lunatics do not like for individuals to disagree with them. You have to get along to go along. They only like you if you agree with what they're saying, but if you disagree at any extent, even to have a productive conversation, they don't like that. So why is it that every time someone brings data into a debate, the conversation suddenly ends? If you got to tap out when the numbers show up, were you ever really confident in your argument? And let's actually really break this down in plain English, right? What is this affordability crisis they're talking about? Basically, it means regular people can't afford regular life, right? Simple as that. And I want to get to this University of Berkeley thing that was mentioned. That's the site if you guys want to, tap into it and check it out yourselves. But right, rent's too high, groceries too high, utilities too high. Trying to fill up your gas tank feel like you feel like you're paying a car note just trying to fill up your gas tank. And that's what we're talking about. You ever go into the store, you grab your basics, eggs, milk, bread, maybe a frozen pizza, and it's like $60. Like, bro, what happened? That's not luxury shopping. That's supposed to be basic survival, and it gets priced like a Whole Foods date night. And if you got kids, oh, don't even get me started, right? Because every trip to the store felt like a mini tax return just disappeared. So, and if we're going to be real, this crisis didn't just pop up in 2024. It started during Biden's term. 2022 and 2023 were a hell of were hell of expensive for everybody. And that's when inflation really punched people in the mouth. And yeah, the media stayed quiet. Why? Because the people causing the crisis were in power and they didn't want to make them look bad. So, real questions to the audience. You watching this right now. If people felt it hardest in 2022 and 2023, why is Trump getting blamed for it now? Be honest. Go check the charts. Look at the gas prices. Look at the rent. Look at food prices, right? When did it hit hardest for you personally? And I'm willing to bet it wasn't in 2020. Now, let's talk facts from this Berkeley study, okay? Because they looked at cost of living across the country, breaking it down by red states and blue states and purple states. And what did they find? Blue states been the most expensive for the last 15 years straight. Not just a little bit more, we're talking a lot. Let's go deeper, right? So check this out. It says liberal leaning states governed by Democrats have faced criticism in recent years for the high cost of living. Yet we are unaware of analysis that digs into the extent to which blue states are truly less affordable than red and purple states and why. This is important to understand. Affordability is driving out migration from blue states to more affordable parts of the country. Cost of living was the principal concern for voters in 2024 elections. With inflation concerns driving Republican votes, Republicans made significant gains between 2020 and 2024 in major states and cities governed by Democrats. The blue state affordability challenge is real. Our analysis suggests one, blue states tend to have significantly higher cost of living than purple and red states, a pattern that has been consistent for the past 15 years. Two, housing is the principal driver of the red blue cost of living divide, with utilities playing a more modest role. Three, a combination of high demand for housing and restrictions on supply that lead to a shortage drive high housing cost in blue states, right? And it goes into the red blue cost of living divide. The best source of data we have on the relative cost of living in different states comes from regional price priorities data produced by the US Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA. Each year, the national average prices level is set to 100, and the RPP in a given state or metro area provides the price level relative to the national average. So, an overall RPP of, say, 115 indicates costs 15% higher than the national average. What does the RPP say about the differences in living costs between states with different political leanings? For this analysis, we categorize states as blue if they voted for the Democrat in each presidential election from 2008 through 2024. Red if they voted Republican in each of these elections, and purple if they went to different parties in different elections. We should note also that blue states tend to be governed by Democrats in governors' offices and state legislators, and vice versa for red states. This is why I say your local legislators and local elections are way far more important than your national election. Now, your national election is also important when it comes to your presidential election, but your local legislators, because of separation of powers, it plays a big part. So, we're going to get to the chart in a second, okay, family? So, with that being said, we're going to zoom out. What I'm getting to is, right, housing, right? 52% more expensive in blue states. Utilities, 45% higher. That's not pocket change, okay? That's not pocket change. And this is the chart, okay? But this is what I'm speaking of data wise in regards to the matter. 52 to 45% higher, right? That's your entire paycheck going before the 10th of the month. So let me ask y'all, why are the states with the most government rules the least livable for working class people? Ain't that backwards? Shouldn't progressive policies help the people who's struggling? And let me explain what policy really means in street terms. In these blue states, they got zoning laws, right? That make it damn near impossible to build new housing. You want to build an apartment building? You got to go through like 18 steps, fight off neighborhood groups, deal with parking rules, environmental reviews, and wait years to get a permit. All that delays construction and keeps housing supply low. And when supply is low and demand is high, prices explode. Basic economics, right? Simple economics. Like imagine you at the cookout, right? And there's only 3 hot dogs and about 3 hot dogs left and about but 15 people standing around. You already know someone finna cash app $20 just to grab one. And that's housing in California, right? That's literally housing in California. And too many people, not enough places to live, and all the rules making it worse. Same thing with utilities, man. In red states, they let energy flow. In blue states, nah, they chasing green goals, the green machine, the new green plan. That sounds good, but hit your wallet like a heavyweight. And I ain't talking boxing, dog. They shutting down power plants, blocking pipelines, and then wondering why your light bill look like a second rent payment. Meanwhile, rich folks in the hills ain't even noticing it. But folks in the hood, yeah, they paying the price for that green energy transition. Remember when they were so gung ho on pushing EVs, electric vehicles, right? Thank God for Trump, saying let the market decide. You want gas cars or electric cars. The more options, the more available, the more options, obviously, it depends on the customer and what's convenient for them. Don't try to control the market. So here's a question. Why do the policies that claim to save the environment always seem to hurt the people who live paycheck to paycheck? Right? This is just a fact, right? Look at this, man. This is ridiculous, right? So you're looking at these charts, and you guys can check it out. I'm skimming through, but this is the zoning I was talking about. The shortages, right? And you know, it's just mind blowing for the simple fact that here's the kill shot. Blue state defenders love to say, well, cities are just more expensive, right? Because you see, right, it says surely the fact that many blue states contain high opportunity, high income metro areas with strong demand for housing plays a role, right? All right. Red states have cities too. Dallas is a city. Atlanta is a city. Houston, Phoenix, all booming metros. But guess what? They're still more affordable than places like LA, San Francisco, or New York. So it ain't just about population, it's about policy. You can live in a big red city and still have a backyard. In blue cities, you're paying luxury prices to live in a hallway. Why are we pretending that's normal? And this ain't just theory, right? People are reacting with their feet. Millions have already left these unaffordable blue states, California losing people, New York bleeding residents, and they are not just moving anywhere, they're going to red states. They are going to red states, right? They're going to red states. You can't make this stuff up. So when you go all the way up, right, and you see how the higher costs, right, the regional price parity, and these are red states. You see the red states are all the way down the bottom. It's just obvious. Look at it. Look at the chart, man. You can't make this stuff up. So when you look at all these things and you have people that they're not just moving anywhere, they're going to red states. And when they get there, what do they say? Wow, I can breathe again. Is oxygen real? So kudos, so good riddance to that green machine go green bullshit policy, because I smell better oxygen over here, right? I smell better oxygen. I can breathe again, right? So I'm saying all that to say, well, red states are letting energy flow and they can buy a house when they go to these red states. Ain't that telling? Like, y'all ever think about how hard you have to struggle just to afford to stay in the city you grew up in? Think about that. Why should you need 2 jobs and a roommate just to keep the lights on in your own hometown? That's not freedom. That's survival mode, right? Look at these blue states. Look at the housing production, right? Regulation driven housing shortage. Shortage then red in purple states. Blue states have a shortage. Look at this. You got Utah, you know what I'm saying? So if you look at this, but look, man, right? So again, even Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, said the pain people feeling now, that's coming from the last few years, not this year, not Trump. It's carryover damage from Biden's economy. But still, you never catch Abby Phillip or her crew saying that on air. She'll twist herself into a pretzel before she admits Democrat policies are hurting people. And ask yourself this: if the media can't admit basic truth, how can you trust them to give you the real analysis? Bottom line, if we are serious about solving affordability in America, we got to start by telling the truth. And the truth is, blue states are failing the working class. The data is clear. The people are leaving. The pain is real. And the media deflection tactics ain't going to work forever. Eventually, even the most loyal voters got to ask, why is it so expensive just to exist in my own city? So, yeah, I had to get that off my chest, But now, I want to hear from y'all. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you feel like the cost of living got worse under Biden? Would you ever consider moving to a red state for a better quality of life? And why do you think the media only pushes affordability as a crisis when Trump is involved? Let's talk about it. You already know I read all the comments. Trust me, I'll mention them. I'm starting to mention them more as we go through these videos. And we're going to keep the convo going because, as always, we're just having a conversation. Make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button, stay locked in. And if you're new to the family, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on because the truth don't take a day off. Catch you in the next one, family. Peace.